There is a big MCP update, the 2026-07-28 spec, and for the next few weeks, you are going to see a lot of content calling it a transport change. The protocol went stateless, so swap your load balancing, add a shared store, upgrade your SDK, done. That is not wrong, it is just not the part that will hurt you. The changes that break in production are almost never the ones on the release notes, so here's my one argument for this video. MCP 728 is not really a transport change. It is a governance change wearing transport clothes. Migrate it as a transport change and you will scale beautifully and audit terribly. Which is the worst place to end up? Quick hello if you are new here. I'm Adora. I lead engineering teams and most of my work sits on the operating side of software, the reliability, the security, the governance, the part where a system meets real users and real audits and has to hold up. I have spent years now on the question of how you keep complex systems accountable when they are running at scale. And agents are the newest, messiest versions of that question. So that is the lens for this whole video. Not how you build an agent, how you keep one honest once it is in production. I want to talk about the shape of the change because the shape is what people are missing. Here is the core of it. Before this release, an MCP connection had a session, right? You did a handshake at the start, the server handed back a session ID, and every request after rode inside that session, right? It was a little bit of shared memory sitting between the client and the server, quietly carrying context along. 728 removes it. No handshake, no session ID. Every request now stands completely on its own. Any request can land on any instance, and that instance knows nothing about the last one. If you care about scale, this is great news, right? Stateless requests are what let you run 1,000 instances or 100 instances behind a round robin and not care which one answers. That is a transport win and it is real, right? But watch what just happened. The session was not only carrying technical states. In a lot of systems, the session was quietly doing governance and nobody wrote that down because it was never a decision. It was just how it worked. So here's the question that matters. When you had a session, what was it actually holding for you? Three big things. The first one is identity. You proved who the caller was at the start and every request after that just inherited it. You never asked again. The second was authorization. Whatever this caller was allowed to do, you worked that out early and let it ride for the whole session. And the third is correlation. Everything inside one session was obviously one interaction. When something went wrong, you could see the whole thing as a unit. That is the backbone of any audit trail. Now take the session away. Every one of those becomes a decision you have to make again on every single request. Identity has to be presented or looked up on every call because there is no, we already know who this is, right? Authorization has to be proven on every call because the gateway can no longer say the session was allowed in, so it's fine. And correlation has to be manufactured because nothing groups your requests for you anymore. That is my whole point. Statelessness did not remove governance, it relocated it. It moved governance out of the transport where it was invisible and into the request where you now have to handle it on purpose. The teams that see that will be fine. The teams that only see swap the load balancer will ship a system that scales and cannot answer one hard question when an auditor comes up. Let me make that concrete, and I'm going to focus on the one that matters most, which is permissions. In the old world, you authorized once and you coasted. In the new world, every call is its own authorization decision. And here's the part people underestimate. Agents do not make one decision per user action. They make one per tool call. A single task can fan out into dozens. So authorize every request is not a small ask. Your authorization check is now on the hot path of every tool call, as tool call speed, as tool call volume. And if that check is slow or awkward to wire up, I will tell you exactly what teams do. They route around it. They reach for one broad service credential, a single powerful identity standing in for everybody, just to make the migration work. And the moment you do that, you have scale with no accountability, which is bad. Every call looks the same. You cannot tell who actually did anything. That is the most corrosive thing you can do in this migration, and it is the most tempting because it makes the pain go away on day one. Do not do it. The harder question is the right one. Who is behind this call? Not just the user. The user and the agent acting for them, and the workload the agent called through, and the chain of on behalf of between them. That is what you have to answer now per request. And a simple role check does not capture it, because a role tells you what someone can do in general, not whether this specific agent may take this specific action for this specific user against this specific thing. Right? Listen to this again. Not whether this specific agent may take this specific action for this specific user against this specific thing right now. And that is the work. It is harder than swapping a load balancer. It is also the whole game. I could do the same work through audits and through lifecycle, and I will in their own videos. But I want to leave you with the thing underneath all of this. The thing that makes a stateless request scale is the exact same thing that makes it governable. A request that stands on its own is easy to route, easy to cache, easy to spread across 100 instances or 1,000 instances. And a request that stands on its own is also attributable, authorizable, and auditable. Scale and governance come from the same design act. So you have a choice in this migration. You can do that design act on purpose and come out with an estate that is smaller, clearer, and calmer than the one you went in with, or you can skip it. Chase only the transport win and come out with the same mess you had before, now rolling statelessly at higher volume. Same mess, faster. I know which side of that I want to be on, and if you are the person who gets paged at 2 a.m., I think you know too. I went deeper on the lifecycle and deprecation side in a written post. Link is in the description, and there is a full governance write-up there too if you want the whole framework. Tell me in the comments how your team is handling this switchover, and if you want more of the operating side of AI, not the building side, subscribe, because that is some of what I will make here. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.